Minecraft just revealed that 1.21 will be
the Tricky Trials update.
Or if you're reading in text form, the Tricky Trial 5 update. You know, that actually would make sense because there's 5 levels of Bad Omen, but what makes less sense is what they decided to include and not include in the update overall, and also this announcement they made at the end.
Stay tuned to all of our platforms for an upcoming celebration. See you next month!
As Topaholic rightly suggests, this means they're going to be doing something for the 15-year anniversary of Minecraft. They've been hinting this ever since the last Minecraft Live, and Topaholic suggests it might even be an early Minecraft Live, because why else would they tell you to follow their socials? That is one of their big events every year. But I would like to quickly say that we do know what they're doing for the 15-year anniversary. There's going to be a brand new map as well as a cape that is available. This will be the most widely available cape, and so I'd be fascinated to see what it does to cape perception. I also do think that it's likely to just be these two things that release. Maybe there'll be some special announcement on top for some weird new texture pack or resource pack that can bring you back to the old times, but I do think what is very unlikely is a full Minecraft Live. The reason for that is that we kind of know Minecraft's routine at this point, which is trying to release an update in the summer and then about 3 months later having a Minecraft Live where they announce the next one. This seems to be what they're going through, and it means that either you'd have to have a Minecraft Live without the update announcement, one of the most exciting bits, or you would have to have a Minecraft Live where you announce 1.22 before 1.21 is even out. By the way, to address 1.22, just very briefly, I think a lot of people seem to think that 1.22 is actually the secret thing in development right now. I would say one of the things that I've learned about Mojang from the years of following them for this news channel is the fact that what we are seeing publicly is more or less what they're working on internally, maybe with about 4 to 6 weeks delay, and so I do think that the 3 or so months between 1.21 finishing and 1.22 coming out will just be entirely internal prototypes, and that is if they're working on the update at all, which there might be like big gaps to make sure that they can work on 1.21.10, etc, etc, which is interesting that I bring that up because Gimmick Jr. says this update is great so far. If you ask me, I really don't get the fact that Armadillo and Wolf stuff came out early though, and this is something the wider community is feeling. I've seen a lot of YouTubers who just play Bedrock but don't necessarily follow the news being like, wait a minute, so why is it that Armadillos and Wolves are in the game but not Trial Chambers? I want to get a mace, but so why would they release part of this update early? I think in the community's collective consciousness, there is one update with a big set of features that is coming out soon, and everything else before then is just bug fixes, which makes it really hard to follow what's in the next update and what's in the next update. This is one of the reasons we can't have 1.22 being announced right now, because imagine how confusing it would be if Minecraft announces an end update, but then immediately follows that up by releasing the Tricky Trial 5 update. A lot of people would say, wait, no, I thought we were expecting this, because this is how marketing works. It is hard to try and explain to people the intricacies of your development process, and instead you just say, here is the next update, and that's why I think it was a bit of a confusion to see the Wolves and Armadillos come out so soon to when people are expecting 1.21. I think they probably could have released the Wolves and Armadillos a little bit earlier, unless they are planning on, again, instead of moving straight from 1.21 to 1.22, maybe they'll work on some additional features in 1.21.10 and 1.21.20, because fun fact, Minecraft is always working on brand new updates. Do you remember how 1.20.80 is called 1.20.5 on Java? They actually released a 1.20.6 just yesterday, or at least a release candidate for it, and they did this precisely because they needed to fix some bugs in that previous update. This is something that they could continuously do through the year, rather than just working all year long on one big drop. Maybe have some smaller ones which come out every couple of months. This is going to be the exciting thing to follow, and so if they are going to make an announcement about the game's future for the 15-year anniversary, I think that the next little sub-update, 1.21.10, is just as likely as perhaps, I don't know, the brand new Minecraft game we know they're working on. They're still hiring people for it. We know it's going to be on mobile, but not much else. But I also think both those things are just as likely as saying, here is a 15-year anniversary map, here is a cape, and here is just a fun little bit of nostalgia through the past, because ultimately not every Minecraft event comes with brand new vanilla content. It's just something that makes sense. And speaking of things that don't make sense, James401 has this comment: I will not lie, their reasoning for the word tricky in the title is so nonsense they couldn't really think of anything else. So thank you, by the way, for being a member long enough to be a diamond cat, but honestly, I do agree. I think the trials part of this update is self-explanatory, but as much as I love Agnes and loved her trying to explain why tricky made sense, I honestly felt like having 3 separate reasons and they were all very different kind of felt like, yeah, we're just looking for one that sticks. We're looking for a good explanation for the tricky part, when really I think most people understand that the trial chambers are the major part of this update and the tricky part is just good alliteration. Because I always am amazed at alliteration, and I think a lot of people would be too. But ultimately, that is the smallest critique that I could say for the title. I really do think it's good overall, and I like that they've moved away from the update theme, just for the sake of now when we talk about 1.22, nobody has to call it the end and bend update, or the mineshaft and crimes hard update, or the seed and weed update. No longer will we do these dumb rhymes for the sake of rhymes, and that is a big improvement. Speaking of big improvements, they definitely listened to the community when they complained about the lack of interesting items in the ancient cities. They are not making that mistake with the trial chambers. This is so true. There is so much content in the trial chambers that even as someone who loves large amounts of Minecraft content and also loves structures, I look at it and I say, is there maybe too much? Because the mace by itself would be great. As user FM2EO, I'm not going to say the rest of this, says, the mace would be fun enough by itself for all its PvP opportunities, and that's before thinking of PvM, taking down the Wither in one hit. That sounds like a lot of fun, but before even thinking about all of this stuff, it sounds like it's going to be a very intense time. But then consider that on top of the mace, which is already something big, there are some trims, which is already kind of big, and then there's banner patterns, and then there's new pottery shards, because why not? And all of the enchantments for the mace, it is a point of, like, I would say it is almost silly the amount of stuff that is found in the trial chambers, but it means that there is a lot of fun things to be found, and that's before you talk about the brand new music discs. I am so excited to have Precipice play while I'm going around one of these things. Speaking of things I'm excited for, Ultra Flat Survival. I did my first attempt at trying to survive it hardcore on Thursday. Let's say it didn't go that well, but it was the game's fault. It was a Minecraft bug that killed me, so I'm at least feeling slightly good about it. But anyway, the point here is to say that Concussions asked, is the days played counter an add-on or something? And I realized a lot of people did miss this Wednesday's video, so Minecraft has a day counter built in. It's something fun I'll be using on my new Ultra Flat Survival attempt, which will be tonight. Oh, that's going to be scary. If you want to come and join me, you'll be able to look in the top left and see how many days it's been live. I think this day tracker is better than the Java one because it's persistent without being all of that F3 text, but Super SPG says no, the day tracker is by no means better, and I would like to actually quickly have this debate. So if you didn't watch Wednesday's video, there was a hotly contested comment section of people saying you can't call this a Bedrock exclusive because the functionality exists on Java. I would say though, and the point I made in that video is that there is a day counter on Java. This is where that feature is coming from because lots of people made videos from that feature. You know, it's one of those derivatives where they're making this for people who have watched videos from Java that people do it with editing, basically. But the interesting thing is if you ever watch a Java video, the way you'll see the day counter is never someone going into the F3 settings because it's ugly and it's terrible for the viewer, but instead they just throw the day counter either as a transition between the days or they have it on screen at all times. That's interesting, right? And tells you that, you know, there's really two uses for the day tracker, and I think they're both a little better on Bedrock. One is the reason that I think is much better on Bedrock, where obviously you just want to make some content, whether that's for screenshots for Reddit or Twitter, or whether it's for YouTube videos or streams, having the days played counter be persistent but easily readable, much better on Bedrock than Java, just objectively speaking. So if it's content that is your angle, which I'll admit is where I come from, then obviously it's better. And then the second thing I guess you would use it for is just referencing with yourself. Have you ever been curious how long you've survived in Minecraft? In the same way we had Minecraft stats, which used to just show hours, but now show days and are comparable with friends. So in the same way that we have these stats, and people would like to just see them for their own personal completion's sake, I think a lot of people would love to just temporarily check how many days they've been in, and I guess I could concede that this is better on Java. If you know exactly where you're looking, you can F3 toggle on, F3 toggle off, whereas on Bedrock, you go to the settings, you gotta hit that toggle, you gotta go look, and then you gotta go to the settings and then go back through and undo it. I would concede that that is maybe better for those types of people, and the question though is which is a more common use case? Is it people trying to show other people, in which case you want it on all the time, or at least on for the sake of some video, or is it people who are doing, just checking by themselves? I actually don't know. I feel like as a YouTuber, my perspective is a bit warped here, and speaking of things that are a bit warped, I had this interesting comment from Mikey T, who says, is it just me, or is Toycat's audio not synced with his mouth? No idea what you're talking about. Next up, we have this comment from YearTip20. By the way, they're called YearTip20, but they actually tip $10. And I've said before, you know, this is a weird thing to do for comments. You don't have to waste your money doing it, but thank you for the $10 regardless. Do you think that bamboo should be included in the Wandering Trader sapling slot? It is a wood type I've been playing a super flat world for the past year or so. Can't get bamboo. They added cherry blossom. I feel scammed. And yeah, I think bamboo bamboo should be a wood type, but I also see why they didn't add it. It's a bit more powerful than a wood type. It's one of the things that excites me about Ultra Flat tonight is the fact that we will be able to get bamboo, and that's going to be my wood source until I can eventually get enough emeralds to trade for a sapling. It's going to be a really fun, different way to play Super Flat. I'm very excited for it. And also, by the way, again, thank you for the $10. I would like to just quickly say that if you want to, we could do a fun little experiment. If you tip any amount on this video, you can tip the minimum YouTube lets you. I will answer your question in the next week's Q&A. But first thing, speaking of this week's Q&A first, speaking of Pocket Edition Redstone, what do you think about Bedrock Redstone? It seems like a massive parity problem that you haven't covered much on the on the channel, sorry. P.S. They did a really good job with the Fallout show. So, to answer your question, I got a text from a friend. I think I have to leave literally this second, but this is important, so we'll try and race through it. Here's a fun thing about Bedrock Redstone. It is locked into being the same as Java Redstone, is what you would assume. At some point, it's going to be happening because Minecraft have said every single feature will be going through parity, and so eventually it will switch over, except wait, no. Minecraft have said they want full parity, but they've also said this is the only official statement they've ever made about Redstone. The two systems are functionally different and are going to stay that way. You cannot suggest that they bring the two systems into parity because they will not have the exact same Redstone systems because it would require redoing the Redstone system completely on one platform or another, which is crazy to me because it is the closest thing we have to a direct confirmation from Mojang that true parity is a laughable one-day goal, and that's why they can never truly discontinue Java and say, move your worlds over to Bedrock, because the Redstone will never work perfectly unless they can make a perfect converter, but they can't because Bedrock Redstone is so fundamentally different that you couldn't even go into someone's world and change things to make them work the same. I guess they could make a much better Redstone system and wait 5 years until people don't use the old one, but that would be very unlikely too. Redstone is so hard to update because so many things rely on it, and I think that's one of the interesting things about the game. Speaking of interesting things, just a quick comment from LAGamer9895. I can't get it on PC. Has anyone else noticed it yet? Yeah, 1.20.80 was very late to release on the Windows version of Minecraft, and it's funny because Minecraft Bedrock parity, we like to talk about it like, yeah, one day they're going to have Bedrock be the same as Java, but Bedrock is still not on parity with Bedrock. There is always a platform that is getting releases slowly for the updates, which means they can't play Realms, they can't play with their friends, they can't get the new features for hours and sometimes a day later than everyone else, and right now it's the Windows version. It's so frustrating as someone who recently was like, oh yeah, well, I ended up not really doing much Xbox capturing, so my new PC doesn't have a capture card, but now I have to play the Xbox version of all these updates because they just don't release them on the PC. Please, Minecraft, I don't know if this is an easy fix, I don't know if this is a Microsoft Store issue, but please, if you could release updates early to counteract the fact that they're coming out late, I would love not having to, wait till the next day to enjoy a Minecraft update. Speaking of waiting till the next day, Snorp6781 says, seeing as everywhere you plan to travel has some major catastrophic event before you arrive, how much for you to travel to France? Well, you know what, so interestingly enough that you say that, I've actually, the explanation for why France is the way it is I've actually planned to travel there 3 times now, and if I try to go a 4th time, I can't imagine how much worse it's going to get. Speaking of how much worse things are going to get, Susanna Green 9900 says, what's this 1.21 he's talking about? Anyway, who's excited for Caves and Cliffs? Oh, to be back in 2022 again would actually be pretty terrible. I guess 2021. Oh, to be back in 2021 again would be even worse. And so I'm glad that we're not there for everywhere except Minecraft. I feel like Caves and Cliffs, if Caves and Cliffs had come a one big part, it would be the single biggest community reaction ever. But speaking of community reactions, I want to say that I hope that you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you're excited for Ultra Fat later. I'm heading out with a friend now, and the plan is to get home and then do some fun stuff with that later. I hope that you're excited, and I hope that where I'm going today isn't going to have some big disaster. It's gonna be one of the major London bridges. So if you hear about a big bridge disaster, it wasn't me, I swear. But yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you all enjoyed, and I hope that I'm not late. Bye. No, I thank you for watching. I appreciate your time, internet, and I look forward to seeing you next week, where we'll have a lot of comments with dollar numbers under them, apparently, because if you tip any amount as a comment, I don't even know how you do that. I've never seen the option myself, but if you tip any amount as a comment, it'll show up in next week's Q&A. Let's see if we regret that one. Bye.